Hey guys, this is my interview with Tim Keenan, developer of Duskers, released on Steam as of right now. If you want to go check it out, you can. And if you want to find content like this a little bit earlier, you can always check out my podcast where interviews like this will be posted a few days in advance. Hope you guys enjoy and have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, PattyJack here, otherwise known as Chris, and I'm joined today by Tim Keenan. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Right, so
Thanks for having me.
no problem, man. So you are an indie developer currently working on a new game right now. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're working on?
Yeah, we're just about done, and maybe by the time this is out, we will be done with Duskers, which is it's always a little bit difficult to describe. Basically, you pilot drones into derelict ships to try and figure out why everyone is dead, and you do that with a command line interface. And so it's kind of like a survival horror, roguelike, dungeon crawler, squad-based, real-time, weird game.
It is a big mishmash of things. That seems to be the trend over the last few years, right? You make a game, it's like, oh, I want to do this, 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 and this. Oh, this is really cool now. Let's roll with it, right?
Yeah, well, I think with all the games that are coming out and all the really cool games that are coming out, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, well, that's been done and that's been done. So, when you want to, especially as an indie, when you want to just kind of take a chance and do something, it's like, it's harder and harder. So now you just got to kind of start throwing in command line interfaces and stuff.
Yeah. How big of a chance do you think it is going into independent developing right now? Because you do have like a history and a background with with larger companies and even working kind of in like the movie industry as well. Is it a big change up going into indie developing?
Actually, so it's interesting. It definitely is, and it isn't. I started in like AAA games at Rainbow Studios, and I made the transition to film. And it was a transition because certain things are different, but there are a lot of things that are common across them, right? You're both using technology to create like a visual end goal. It's just that in film, the visual is the end goal, and in games, someone can go left and see what's over there. So that obviously makes the process quite a bit different. So there are like a few really important things that you've got to kind of wrap your brain around when you move from one to the other. But they're both, I'd say they have more in common than they do, not in common when you compare it to obviously like other jobs. Like real jobs, like,
yeah.
like real jobs where people work and do.
People, when we go, not saying you don't do 9 to 5, but it's like, yeah, you go out and like, yeah, like just more general jobs that people would expect people to have, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife mentioned that like the other day. She was just like, because someone was in like a regular work environment, and like I was like, wow, I realized like I've only like worked in like game studios or film studios where I like wear shorts and a t-shirt and like hang out with a bunch of odd people, and she's just like, yes, you have not had the common experience of most of the working people in the world.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I mean I just got out of college, but what I did before that was I was working at a grocery store, right? So they make you wear like your uniform and everything, but I just got a job at a radio station as well. So now I'm going in kind of getting the same experience where it's like I don't have to like be wearing that suit and tie all the time. I can walk in, no one gets to see me when I'm doing the radio. So
Right.
when I'm on the radio, so I can kind of wear my t-shirt. I can wear my Dragon Ball Z shirts and all that. Do whatever I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, see, I used to wear like a shirt and tie when I wanted to freak everybody out. They'd be like, all right, it would either be, okay, is it a funeral? Are you interviewing somewhere? Or are you gonna like shoot us all? Like, what's going on here?
Awesome. So, you guys have developed a couple other games now. Is it just you developing these games, or do you have a team, or kind of how's that going?
So for the first game we did, called The Virus Named Tom, it was myself and my wife, and then we brought on some contractors. And then for Duskers, since then we've had a kid, and independent game development isn't exactly a gold mine. Holly went back, and she's still doing full-time work. So I kept Jeremy, who was our main developer, and some of the core team, and then we brought on some new people like Brendan Morrow, who's doing art, and who had worked on Cogs, and
I played Cogs like a month ago. That was a good game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he actually had done Cogs, and then he moved over to Extra Solar, which is like a web game where you're actually moving drones or rovers around on like planets, and so so he might be burnt out on drones, but yeah, fortunately he like was available in the middle of the project because Jill Ogle had started the game, and then she went off to make Twitch controlled robots, which is really cool. Um, some
Is
more
that like
robots.
Twitch control robots? What's that? Is that like a game run by Twitch, like the website, or?
No, so it's like a startup that she created. She started making these little robots that you could control over Twitch, and log in and move them around. So we'd have them moving around the office. It was pretty weird.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah, it's
I.
really cool. So we actually did a Duskers live.
Mhm.
We had a top-down camera on all of her drones. We turned out the lights and we put glow sticks around, and we had like scan lines, and I was interacting with people as they like moved the drones around, and we had like a little fake enemies and stuff like that. It was really weird. I don't know if you ever seen the live Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode?
I watched. Is that one of the newer seasons? I haven't seen the new seasons.
No, no, it was that one where the joke was like you have to pay the troll toll to get inside this
Oh
place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because they toured with that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they did like a live performance,
Hmm.
and I think this was even stranger, but it reminded me of that, where like creating my game in the real world and then having people interact with it and creating like a stage performance of it was like it's an experience that I had never had, and it was kind of amazing. So I thought that was really cool. We did it on Halloween. So she had originally started with me and done the original artwork for the game, and then had gone off to do that, which is kind of funny because it's a little bit like Duskers in real life. So then we got back together and did that for Halloween. I thought that was pretty fun.
That's amazing. So getting back into Duskers itself, like what was the inspiration to really make the game? What was the thing that made you say, "Hey, this is an amazing idea for a video game"? Because it is so different in how you control it than a lot of other games that I've seen. You know, even things similar in genres.
Yeah, I think what happened was that with that game, so I designed games in like a variety of ways, and Duskers, I think more than anything, was designed around like a feeling, was designed around like an experience that I wanted to have, and I always wanted I thought it would be really cool if you docked with this ship and you sent in these drones, and you couldn't, like it wasn't you in there, you were looking through the camera feed, a lot like Gorman and like Aliens or something like that, where he has all the feeds from all the Marines,
Hmm.
um, and what a heightened sense of tension there would be when you couldn't see things very clearly and your tech was kind of broken down. I always loved like Cowboy Bebop and the Millennium Falcon and all these things where there was this future, and instead of being like sexy and bright, like things were breaking down. Just like today, like if you traveled into the future from like 50 years ago, you'd be like, oh my, like look at all this technology, but like there's still cars on the road that are like crappy, that break down. So I was always kind of obsessed with that, and so that's where the kind of design of the game came from. So that's why I think it ended up in such a strange place, is because instead of like really focusing on a mechanic or an existing game that like I wanted to make better or whatever, it was just kind of designed around that feeling. And so we just kind of meandered around, like bumping into walls, being like, well, that's not fun, that doesn't work. And it makes for a longer design process, unfortunately. So, I mean, it did take us from start to finish about 3 years. But at the end of the day, we were able to find something, and that something was, I feel, unique. And that was really cool.
Yeah, the thing when I was playing it, and this is just my absolute first impressions of it. When I was playing it, I was really feeling like when I was sitting in front of my computer screen, and I was typing in the commands and everything. Like I felt almost like a hacker, you know. If I felt like I was at parts in the ship, you know, it was kind of like an immersion without trying to immerse me. Like where it wasn't trying to immerse me where the drones were. It was trying to immerse me where I was controlling them. If that makes any sense, right?
It makes complete sense, and the best thing a lot of times when you design anything creative, like you have a goal, right? Like I want them to feel this or that, and it's kind of, maybe I'm bad at it, but I feel it's kind of rare that you actually nail that, right? It's very rare that like someone's like, oh, like in that scene I felt really like a sense of loss, and in this scene I felt like elated, and it's really difficult to do. And so I think the best compliment I ever get is when people say that, because what I really fought for with Duskers a lot is that sometimes, like, I like to call it like putting a stake in the ground, or setting a course, or whatever you want to call it. Like there have to be these kind of design pillars that you kind of build the game around, and you can always move them, but it just makes everything easier. And one of the principles was this sense not only of like realism, but of not tearing down that fourth wall. Like a lot of people wanted, like at the beginning, because people weren't getting the game, they wanted me to show this bank of monitors and like have the camera like be you sitting down in front of it. And to me, that felt like I don't like that in games when like I wake up and I move my head and stuff like that because that's not me. I'm not doing that. And so for me, I was like, no, 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 no. The monitor on your laptop or on your computer, that's your monitor. You're in the spaceship. Like you're hitting keys on your keyboard, right? So everything that you're doing, like if I put a fake crack on there or I had camera shake when like an asteroid hit or whatever, I'm it's the same thing, and I'm kind of going on a tangent here. It's the same thing when I'm playing a game and like mud splatters on the screen or there's a like camera lens flare, right? It's fine if I'm playing a racing game and I'm like, oh, that's really visceral. But like if I'm playing a game where I am the protagonist and they do that, I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm sitting here on a camera like 10 feet behind them, and that's why mud got on my camera because I'm not that person. So all that stuff. So I believe that kind of can take you out of the game. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep you in there. And so the only way that I could do that with my budget was exactly that. I was like, because the game, you're sitting at a computer, at a keyboard, I don't have to make that. You're already doing that. And it's amazing to me when I hear people say that they set the game up and they put their headphones on and they turn off the lights and they imagine that that's their monitor in this ship. I've even had a developer friend, it blew me away. He said that he would turn off the lights and set everything up because he has it set up in his basement.
Yeah.
And he would walk upstairs and then he would open the door and walk down the steps as if he's like going into his ship. And that's like the most amazing thing to hear. And so it felt kind of risky when we were doing it a little bit because it was like, you're kind of going all or nothing.
Is it too much? Is it too little type of thing?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, because at first people weren't getting that. Like, we weren't conveying it well enough because they were like, where am I? What am I doing? What is going on, right? Mm-hmm. And then with the logs and with some, a little bit more, glitches and with the BIOS, like, or the boot screen coming up and all that stuff, like, it started to be like, oh, this is a computer that I'm sitting at, So it was really cool. A little inspiration behind that was actually, I think it's called Memories of a Broken Dimension.
I've never heard of that one.
I sat down and played that a while back at, I think like PAX 6 or there's a little side thing off on PAX one time, and I'm the developer, and it was kind of an inspiration. And the same thing with a game called Capsule. Capsule also had an incredibly gritty look and feel, and it just like they did the monitor bend, they did everything, like the refresh line, and because they just went 100% there, it was amazing. And Adam Saltzman had done that, and actually Robin Arnault had done the sound. And amazingly enough, toward the end of Duskers, I was able to get Robin to come in and help me with some sound design type stuff. I wish we had more time and we were able to get more of that work in there, but at least it added a little bit more depth to the sound design when you're driving around on the drones.
Yeah, definitely. I think that you did kind of nail what you were going for. I mean, just considering that what I said before kind of mirrored exactly how you explained how you wanted everything to happen. Because like we hadn't talked about that at all before this interview. So I think you actually did kind of nail it. And again, that's just because I've played the game, like I've only played like an hour or so of the game right now at this point because my schedule's been absolutely insane. But that is what I've been getting so far. So I am interested in playing more, and and that's a hard thing to get someone, especially like me, to do, because I jump around from things like 20 minutes go by and I'm like, I want to play a different game now,
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. So right. No, I think you have done that. All right, so I think that's a great place to kind of end it off, and I would love to give you the opportunity to kind of to plug Duskers and plug the other things you do, because I know you're active on YouTube as well, and you're doing you're doing tons of stuff all over the place. So Everything you got, just throw it out there, do it.
Well, Duskers is going to be available May 18th on Steam, Humble Store, GOG, and off our website for $20. And I do YouTube videos. I was better at it before, but definitely when we do updates to the game, I hop on YouTube, and we're Misfits Attic on the Twitter and such. So thanks so much for having me. It's always fun to talk about my game, especially with people that like it.
If you want to check out Duskers, there is a link to the Steam page in the description below, as well as Tim Keenan's Twitter and YouTube accounts. Thanks to Tim for taking the time to speak with me. I'm always appreciative when developers do that, and I will see you guys next time.